Today's Q&A is brought to you by Squarespace. Whether you need a domain name, website, or online store, make it with Squarespace.
Our first question comes from Karelian, who asks if we think Ahsoka could play a role in the future of the Jedi, or whatever comes next after Episode 9, or will her story be resolved prior to the sequel trilogy?
I don't think she's going to show up in 9 or anything, but I do kind of like the idea that she would meet Rey or something after 9.
Yeah, I think she's still around.
Yeah. I mean, she would be in her 70s at this point, at the point of the sequel trilogy. So, yeah, she could be like the Yoda of the group.
Sure.
Maybe she's been off in the unknown region searching for Ezra this whole time. I don't know. There's got to be a reason for her to be gone, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the idea that if the Jedi get restarted in some way, or if it's a new group, whatever, that Anakin would kind of have a positive impact on the legacy of the Jedi.
Yeah.
That she would be there to like continue his teachings. I think that's a cool thing.
I like the way you say like she would be the new Yoda, because she will have been around since the Clone Wars stuff and seen so much, yeah. And yeah, be a very wise kind of guide to Rey and whoever else is considered a Jedi at that point. Do you think we'll see her again first in animation or in live action?
I think it'll probably be animation. Like, she is first and foremost an animation character. I don't know if we're ever going to see her in live action. I've touched on this before, but I just don't know how she would translate, because like I guess I would want her to be voiced by Ahsoka. I guess even in live action, she
Ashley
might...
Eckstein.
I'm sorry. I want her to be voiced by Ahsoka. Ashley Eckstein. She is Ahsoka to me. I mean, that's what I was trying to say, is that I don't want her to open her mouth and to hear someone else's voice.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like, so maybe she would even in live action be a fully CG character. Like that I could see. A motion capture kind of thing.
I think definitely the next time we see her will be animated. I agree. I don't know if we'll see her live action at all, but I hope that the next time we see her is going to be like tied into where are Ezra and Thrawn and what's that story going to turn into.
I do think that story will be resolved like prior to 9, but I like the idea that she is still around and still available as a teacher.
Oh, you mean like timeline wise prior to 9?
Yeah.
Not before the movie release?
Yes, yeah. Just timeline.
Okay, I was like, wow.
I don't think Ezra and Thrawn are going to show up after 9 as like grizzled old, like, oh my gosh, we've seen some real stuff out there.
Yeah. Ragnar wants to know if the sequel trilogy could connect with the Chosen One prophecy, since balance in the Force wasn't really permanent.
I think that's possible. We've talked about how I feel about the Chosen One trope before, and I'm not crazy about it. I guess the idea of when you introduce prophecies and stuff in fiction, and especially in fantasy, it's like, well, now you want to see that prophecy come true. And Anakin did destroy the Sith, so I'm glad that, like, Kylo Ren and Snoke aren't Sith and all. And then, like, I think the Force Awakens Visual Dictionary says something like, balance was achieved for a time. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I guess I could see them bringing it back. I hope it doesn't play too much into the plot, but at this point I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's part of Star Wars. So, if they need to bring it up, then sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the sequel trilogy is kind of moving Star Wars in a direction where the Chosen One isn't a thing anymore. Like, Rey is nobody, but she is somebody.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I think what they have kind of done is talk about vessels of the Force. They've mentioned that in the comics, where they have said, like, Anakin, Luke, Rey, they are all chosen ones. They've been chosen by the Force in a way. But also, I think that Anakin is, like, a specific chosen one. Like, there's this one person that's supposed to bring balance to the Force and destroy the Sith. And so, like, there's multiple interpretations of chosen one, I guess.
No more Force babies, you think?
Probably not. I think that is kind of an interesting way to separate the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
And say that, like, here is why the Skywalkers are so important, why they get their own saga.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But I do kind of agree that the sequel trilogy makes Anakin's... I mean, at one point, I think that Darth Vader did complete the prophecy, and now it's like, oh, well, maybe he didn't.
Yeah.
But also Legends did the same thing, and it was even, like, Palpatine kept coming back. That's why I don't like Clone Palpatine in Legends, is because that really just craps on Anakin's sacrifice to me. And the Sith just, like, they never went away. But to be fair, when they were doing Legends, the prophecy hadn't been written yet, so, like, it wasn't part of the prequel trilogy, so I forgive them for that, but...
Yeah, I don't know, yeah, like, the whole broom boy at the end of The Last Jedi, I think that message is... Yeah, maybe they could fit in the whole prophecy thing, but also there are just people out there that are Force sensitive, and, you know, I think that was kind of, like, foreshadowing to, like, way into the future, you know, there might not be Jedi per se. They're just going to be, like, a special group of people. I don't know.
Well, I think that it is important that they convey that message and say that, like, the Skywalkers aren't the only ones. Like, we have seen Star Wars through the lens of the Skywalker saga, and that's it. Mostly, except for now Rogue One and Solo. But most of what we know about the Force and the Jedi, it's through the eyes of the Skywalkers. And yeah, a lot of people think that bloodlines are important, and I think the Skywalker bloodline is important. But you don't have to be a Skywalker to be strong in the Force. Yeah. And I think that as we continue on with non-Skywalker related stories, we're going to get powerful characters that have no bloodline or anything. They're just like, they're strong in the Force. Deal with it.
Yeah. Jason Flores asks if we'd ever consider doing a video series about the worst of Legends.
Probably not. I mean, that's not really my style. I like that this channel is more of a celebration of Star Wars and not I don't know. I just don't like video titles that are just like, the worst things in Star Wars or whatever fandom it's in. Like, I like talking about what I like. Now, as I go back through Star Wars Legends, I'm going to be critical of the books that I don't appreciate as much as others, but I don't ever want to come at it as just like, this book sucks and this book sucks and here are like the 10 worst ones. Like, I still want to try to find the merit in those stories.
Yeah, it's really tough when you talk about the best of things and the worst of things, because the worst of Legends could be somebody's favorite part of Legends. And, you know, that we don't want to, like, make them feel left out.
That's kind of the idea that I had when I started the channel, is, especially at that time, hating on the prequels was still a big thing. And, I mean, the prequels aren't my favorite Star Wars movies, but I didn't ever want to make a video about Jar Jar even, or like the Chosen One prophecy. And I don't want someone to walk away from that video being like, well, now I feel bad that Attack of the Clones is my favorite Star Wars movie, because you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not my style.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we could definitely point out the weirdest things and from Legends. Like, I wouldn't mind talking about the Hutt Jedi and, you know, the Force sensitive droid and like the weird funky stuff from Legends.
Yeah, there is a way to do it, and I think, yeah, talking about like the weird things is a more fun way. Someone who I think does a really good job at pointing out the things that don't really make sense in Star Wars, but in a very tongue-in-cheek way, is Space Doc, our friend. He did this video about why Alphabet Squadron makes no sense. Like, tactically, it's like you can't have an X-Wing, a Y-Wing, an A-Wing, and a B-Wing, and a U-Wing in the same squadron.
We don't know that yet because the book hasn't come out.
Yeah, but I mean, the idea of it is that they each fly a different ship, and he's like, the Y-Wing could never keep up with the A-Wing, and it will get shot down. Or they all have to stay with the Y-Wing, and it negates the A-Wing's speed and, like, maneuverability. But in that video, he's just like, this is so nerdy, and it's not the point of the story, and I know that.
So he's the Neil deGrasse Tyson of sci-fi, or of Star Wars.
Sci-fi ships.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, kinda.
He's like, nope, wouldn't work. Sorry.
But he also is like, I understand that that's not how Star Wars even really works. They don't really deal in these like hardcore tactics, but it is fun to point out with like this tongue-in-cheek thing.
Yeah. John Bond wants to know how we would go about consuming all of the new Star Wars content if we didn't have the channel.
I'd definitely go about it in a more casual way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't race to read all the books.
It wouldn't take notes for every chapter. And...
Yeah. It would be more about just like reading the story, and then I would put it down and be like, well, that was fun.
Yeah. We definitely wouldn't have an almost entire bookshelf of reference books.
Yeah.
Although they are super fun to read. I just don't think we would try to get every one that comes out.
Yeah, I mean, and that's also a point, is that there are some stories I definitely probably would have skipped. I mean, a lot of the middle grade books at first glance, I'm just like, doesn't really interest me. But that said, I, because of the channel, give them a chance, and usually my expectations are pretty low. And then like a book like Pirate's Price that just came out, or The Mighty Chewbacca and the Forest of Fear, these books where I'm like, I'm probably not going to get much out of this. Like, they really surprise me and I enjoy them. So, yeah, it's... I don't really know if we didn't have the channel what I would do now. Like, if we stopped doing it today, I think I might still be more open-minded, and I might read some of those series that originally I'd be like, not for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely just gravitate more towards things about my favorite characters and not so much about the stuff I don't enjoy as much in Star Wars.
Yeah. I think there'd probably be some... I mean, even now, I still haven't read the Adventures in Wild Space or the Join the Resistance series, and they've been on my list for a while, but I just haven't found up the motivation to read them, and they're the only canon things I haven't read, and I need to. But yeah it's just kind of like this... it's tough to say. I think I'd probably read a lot more of the books than I did before this channel, because it started as like I'm going to do this just because I feel like I need to. And now I'm like, I really like reading everything. And it gives me more of an understanding of Star Wars as a whole.
Yeah, it just goes to show, if you keep an open mind, you might be surprised by some of the stories that you may not normally gravitate towards.
Yeah, I mean, I'm now just thinking, like, I've brought this up before, but I would not have watched Star Wars Rebels were it not for this channel. I remember seeing marketing for it and being like, that is not for me. I don't like the way it looks, but we have this channel. I'm going to start watching it. And by the end of season 2, I was like super hooked.
Yeah. I think a lot of stuff we wouldn't start watching or start reading right off the bat, like as soon as it came out. But the more we heard about it, we'd be like, okay, let's check it out.
I think the biggest change would just be more casual, more relaxed about how we consume it.
Yeah. Dion Stauber asks what our biggest Star Wars disagreement is.
We tried to think of something, and the biggest thing, which isn't really that big, is whether or not we think Phasma is going to be in episode 9 or not.
Well, I don't know if it's whether or not she'll be in 9, or it's whether or not she's dead.
After The Last Jedi?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think she's dead.
I like to think that she's still alive and that we'll get some kind of story for her after The Last Jedi. I don't know. It's not one of the hills that I'm willing to die on, so to speak, but disappointingly, we don't really disagree on that much.
I mean, I feel like we have had debates on things, but it's never anything where it's like, you are wrong, madam.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, that's an interesting point of view.
Yeah. We were on Steele's podcast once, and someone asked us the same question, and we sat there for like a good 10 or 15 minutes trying to think of something that we disagreed on, and we couldn't think of anything.
There's nothing really, I guess, worth fighting over in Star Wars, but like Phasma is almost, I think that our motivations are coming from the same place, but our conclusions are different, where I'm like, I wanted her to be awesome and badass in The Force Awakens, and then she wasn't. And then we got the comic and the book where she is awesome and badass, and I was like, here we go, Last Jedi, it's gonna like redeem her. And it didn't happen. And so for me, I was like, okay, well, fool me once, fool me twice, whatever that is. And like, so I'm not gonna get fooled again, and I'm not gonna expect her to come back in episode 9. And if they announce her, I'm gonna be like, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. Well,
but you are kind of like, I want her to be badass and awesome, and I hope I get to see it on the big screen.
Yeah, because, like, a lot of her story, especially from the book, is about her being this, like, ultimate survivor.
Yeah.
And, like, out for herself and nobody else. And so, I don't know, like, I feel like she could have survived that fall. We didn't see her, explode or anything, so...
I mean, if Darth Maul can survive, like, she can too. But she's in that chrome armor falling into a pit of fire. She would, like, bake alive immediately.
We don't know how her armor works.
That's true. It's got an air conditioner built in.
But I'm sure, actually, as we go through the Clone Wars and we're doing commentaries on every single episode, I'm sure we'll find something to disagree on in the show at some point.
Yeah. I know that there are little things here and there, but there's nothing that sticks out where we're just like, oh yeah, there's that one big fight we had. That's never really happened. That's it for patron questions, so now it's time to hear from our sponsor. If you don't know what Squarespace is, it's an all-in-one platform for building great-looking websites. They handle domain names and web design templates. It's all super easy to use, you don't need to have any previous experience at all, and if you get stuck, they have award-winning customer support available 24/7. Whether you want to launch your own business or Star Wars fan page, make it with Squarespace. Head there now by following the link in the description or by going to www.squarespace.com/Star Wars Explained to save 10% off your first purchase.
On to YouTube questions. Fighting Falcon 777 asks if doing the channel has affected our ability to just enjoy Star Wars as fans.
The only time I've really noticed it is when we see the movies. Which, like, unfortunately, that's, the big Star Wars release. But when we see a movie for the first time, it feels like there's a lot of pressure on it and more on us to, like, remember all this stuff, to do reviews, to talk about Easter eggs, to answer questions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like I'm trying to enjoy the movie, but also take it all in and remember it all. Everything else, it's very low stress because, like, comic books, I can immediately read it again if I need to. I can go back and look up a line if I need to. Same with the TV shows and the books.
Mm-hmm.
The movies are the only time where it's like the only way we can see it is to go to a theater, watch it for 2 hours again, and then come home and talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately what it is. It's like being able to casually enjoy taking in the content and not, if we didn't have the channel, we wouldn't have to immediately go write down notes or make a video and, try, because this goes for most things on YouTube and YouTube channels. Like, you want to be the first person with that video out on that topic with your thoughts and everything. And, you want to try to get it right.
Yeah. You want it to be early and relevant. Like, you can't review the movie a week later. Mm-hmm. People expect it to be right away because they do want to know your thoughts. And I guess it just feels like, especially the last few movies, I didn't really feel this with The Force Awakens. But with Rogue One and Beyond, I have felt like the first time I saw the movie, it was for the channel. And then the second time, like, we'd go the very next day. And then I was like, okay, this is just for us. And I was able to sit there and just enjoy the movie much more. That has literally happened with Rogue One, The Last Jedi, and Solo.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if they came out on, like, Disney Plus or whatever immediately, it would be way less stress. But they're not going to do that. And I don't think they should do that. It's just like this weird thing where you have to remember things because you don't have direct access to it.
Yeah, plus, you in particular doing the Schmodown.
Yeah.
As long as we keep participating in that kind of stuff, we have to watch the movies and just rip them apart detail by detail, fact by fact, and try to remember every little piece of it. So that
is fun for me, so.
It's fun, but it's also kind of a chore. The only other thing I had to say was to enjoy Star Wars as fans. I think that being on social media a lot can kind of affect how I feel about Star Wars, just because we see so much of the negativity. We know it's out there. We know people that are huge Star Wars fans that just don't spend that much time
online
on Twitter and on, Reddit or whatever, and they're just like, wait, what?
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, we'll tell them what people are mad about this week, and they're like, what? Since when?
Yeah.
Why? So
I wasn't even considering that aspect of things, but yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But for the most part, taking in the new content is my favorite part of doing it. I mean, I love getting new comics every Wednesday. I love when new books come out. I love every Sunday and like getting to watch Resistance and talk about it. Like, that is easily my favorite part of doing the channel. So mostly I would say that it does not affect things. Maybe it even enhances my love for the like stuff outside of the movies. It is like just this weird thing with the films that it was an unexpected twist.
I don't really feel that way. I just kind of take it in. Maybe it's the opposite for me. Maybe I take it in the first time as a fan and then go see it a second time as a professional.
I mean, I wish we could just see it twice in a row. Maybe we should try that with episode 9.
Yeah. Luciano Duarte wants to know how religion works in the Jedi Order because Barriss can be seen with an idol in her room.
Well, I think that in that specific case, the idol was meant to be a little hint that, she's falling away from the Jedi Order and is looking for answers elsewhere because, she had betrayed Ahsoka and all that. So I think that the Jedi probably have a very specific doctrine where it's just like the Force and only the Force, and specifically the light side of the Force.
Yeah. I think that there could be something said about species on more remote parts of the galaxy, like the Ewoks reacting to C-3PO.
Yeah.
That was a surprise. Like, they didn't already have a religion that we know of, but they kind of saw C-3PO and thought he was some kind of god and started to kind of worship him. And
well, there are definitely Force or non-Force related religions out there. Like, even the Naboo have gods, the Gungans have gods. But for the Jedi themselves, although we have to talk about the Mortis gods, I guess, where...
Do all the Jedi know about them?
It seems like they used to. Like, Rebels, when they found that mural, they talk about how they, like, found references to them in the Jedi archives, but I think that most of the modern Jedi didn't know about them or had forgotten about them, and maybe that's like one of those, they lost their way kind of things. So I don't know exactly how they play into Jedi religion.
Yeah. To be honest, I think it was just, we probably don't want to throw religion on top of all the other political undertones of Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, they've always referred to the Jedi as a religion, but it's like, now we're getting into this trinity of gods, and like, yeah, I mean, it's very vague what they are, how they operate. Are they really dead now? What's going on? Yeah. It's very ambiguous.
Yeah. If only George could have made his midichlorians Guardians of the Whills trilogy.
Maybe we'll get like a what if comic someday.
Greg Swanson asks if Karelian blood stripes are canon.
No, sounds like that's something that's just been left in Legends, and I think that's probably where they belong, because all it was like, how do we make pants look a little cooler and more spacey?
Yeah.
So they put red stripes down Han's pants, and then, like, you see Luke wearing pants with the same design. Like, I think that was just the style of the day, and then in the Han Solo Adventures, they kind of took that and made it like, oh, Han's Karelian blood stripes, and I mean, that's fine, but to me, it's one of those things where it's like, it's just pants, and they don't need any extra lore.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think at least for now, they've just left that behind.
Yeah. Kyle Benowitz wants to know what we think the fate of the Millennium Falcon will be in Episode 9. Will it be destroyed, or who will own it?
to me, the Falcon is one of those insanely marketable Star Wars things. So I don't think that it is ever going to be destroyed, in my opinion. It's a ship. It can live forever, literally. That said, maybe Lucasfilm knows that we think that, and like they'll really pull the rug out from under us and they'll blow it up in episode 9.
Yeah.
I don't think they will, but like I think that would be a great way to catch everyone off guard.
Yeah, like take Solo and show us, how special of a ship it really is, and then just like destroy those dreams in episode 9.
I don't think they're going to do that. But then, I mean, they ripped the Skywalker lightsaber in half, but there's room for that to be fixed. Maybe they would do something like that where it gets damaged, and so then it is then rebuilt into something new-ish, but it still has that familiar shape. Like, it could change every era, kind of like it was changed for Solo. But no, I don't think it's going to be outright destroyed.
I agree. I think it'll probably stick around, especially now that L3 lives in it.
Yeah. That would just be another added level of sadness. Or maybe she would consider that freedom. Like, been stuck in this computer for years.
Yeah, well, we don't know where droid
heaven is.
I guess for AP5, it's just space.
It's the great cloud in the sky.
Darth Sand 13 asks if we think we could get a flashback of young Ben Solo in episode 9.
Yeah, maybe. Like, flashbacks haven't really been a Star Wars thing until the sequel trilogy, but they've kind of normalized it with the lightsaber force back, they call it, and then like the Rashomon style, seeing what Ben and Luke went through while Ben was still a Jedi. So at this point, if I wouldn't like write it off, I think it's possible.
Yeah. If he takes that trip to Mustafar,
please,
to Vader's temple, maybe on the way there, he's having some thoughts.
I wouldn't mind going to Mustafar and having another Force back. Like, him having a flashback vision through the Force, through something in Vader's castle.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me. But, that's just me harping on him. I want him to go to Mustafar.
Yeah.
That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. And we also are still doing our Clone Wars commentaries, and today we're releasing Dooku Captured, so that's available right now if you want it. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
And as always, thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you.